Today I've got a very special treat for you. Sweet chilli sauce made from chilies gifted to us by a kind-hearted local farmer. The recipe is simple, wholesome, and brings out the best of these beautiful chilies. I bet it will be the best sweet chili sauce you've ever tasted. The morning air was crisp, and as the mist began to lift, I set about my task. With each chili, I took off the stem, slicing them in half lengthways and carefully scraping out most of the seeds. For this recipe, I used 16 chilies in all, and I cut them up roughly. It doesn't really matter how they were cut up because they're going to be pounded up anyway. These chilies aren't particularly fiery, more like capsicum in their mildness. If you crave a kick in your sweet chili sauce, you might prefer Thai chilies, bird's eye, or even jalapenos. But these with a gentle warmth suit us just fine. And because they were so mild, it didn't really matter if some of the seeds went in as well. In fact, I could have included more of the seeds as well. Now it's time for the garlic. 16 cloves, peeled and chopped. Into the mortar and pestle they went. And as I worked through them, my mind wandered back to the early days of our off-grid life. We chose this path for the simplicity and connection to the land it offered. Each day brought new challenges and rewards, and today's task of making sweet chili sauce is a reminder of the beauty and self-sufficiency and the joy of creating something with my own hands. Next came the coriander roots, fresh from the Wollongara veggie shed, washed and roughly chopped. There were 12 of these altogether, and this is the secret ingredient for this sweet chili sauce recipe. I tell you, this just makes the world of difference to your sweet chili sauce, and I recommend that you try this out. I added 4 teaspoons of salt, each grain a promise of flavour. I used iodized salt this time. I don't usually, but because I've just been diagnosed with an iodine deficiency, I definitely need a top up. So I continue to pound all of this together until the mixture is kind of like a paste. Using a mortar and pestle can achieve a much better result than using a blender. Obviously, some people are going to use a blender because it's easier, but living off the grid, we also don't have a lot of power. So going back to the basics, we did it the old-fashioned way. And doing it this way, the crushing action actually releases the fibers of the ingredients, so it releases their essential oils and flavors more effectively. It also leads to a more intense and complex flavor profile, and also helps you actually preserve the food for longer, because blenders can actually heat the food while it's blending, which doesn't help with preserving the natural flavors of the ingredients. Not to mention that the mortar and pestle have been used traditionally for centuries, so it can help preserve the authenticity of the dish as well. At this point, it's usually the stage where I take it to Paul to use his brute man strength to finish the job off. And as Paul works on completing the pounding of the paste, I work on cutting up and taking out the seeds of all the rest of the chilies so that I can freeze them for future sweet chili sauce. So in a large pot, I measure in 2 cups of coconut vinegar. Then I transfer the paste to the pot. If you don't like your sweet chili sauce to be too chunky, you could run it through a blender or something like that to smooth out the paste a bit more. We don't really mind that we have chili chunks in our sweet chili sauce, but If it's too chunky, it can make it hard to pour out of the bottle. So it's up to you and your preferences around that. Next, I measure out 2 cups of water and add that to the mixture and just mix it all together. And now I add 2 cups of sugar and just put that into the pot with the mixture and mix it all up together. I have used birch xylitol before in this recipe instead of sugar, and that works out just as lovely. So if you have that on hand, you can use that. I don't have that at the moment, so I've used sugar. Now I just bring the sauce to the boil and then turn it down to simmer. As the mixture begins to simmer, the kitchen fills with the most delightful scent, a blend of sweetness and spice, a promise of the treat to come. After 5 minutes, I stir in 4 tablespoons of fish sauce as the final touch before allowing the sauce to cool. While the sweet chili sauce is simmering and while it's cooling, I like to make good use of my time by preparing another batch. I'll take another 16 more chilies, remove the stems, slice them in half and scrape out the seeds just like we did before. Then I'll chop them up roughly. I'll also prepare another 16 cloves of garlic, and once peeled and chopped, I freeze them in a labelled sandwich bag. This is a great way to preserve the chilies and garlic, making it even easier to prepare my next batch. It probably would have been better to have pounded it all up and then frozen it as a paste all ready to go. And some people also recommend freezing the chilies and garlic on a baking sheet first to freeze them all individually and then transfer them to a freezer bag. But I haven't had any issues with freezing them straight in the sandwich bag straight away. So see how you go with that. We also usually freeze all of our leftovers and things in containers that we can reuse, but I've had these sandwich bags since the kids were at school, so I'm trying to use them up in some way. I actually made multiple bags of these chilies and garlic to freeze while I was in the middle of making this sweet chili sauce. So I've made sure that I've let my sauce cool slightly before pouring it into my glass bottles. I use a funnel and a chopstick to help any chunky bits of chili make it through. This part can be a bit fiddly, but take your time. And there you have it, homemade sweet chili sauce. Easy to make, vibrant, tangy, and far superior to any store-bought sweet chili sauce that you can buy. I think that you'll find that this is one of the best chili sauces that you will ever taste. We go through one of these bottles in a few weeks and then I just make up another batch. So the flavour is so much better than anything you'll find at the store. I also save and dry out the chili seeds so that I can plant them again in spring. And one of these bottles of sweet chili sauce will go back to the farmer that gave me the chilies. Living off the grid is all about community and connection, whether it's sharing a bottle of sweet chili sauce or helping each other with the harvest. It's these moments that bring us closer together.